Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi friends, and welcome to this video, which is kinda a recommendation video. I mean, it is a recommendation video, but it's also kind of a recap of new releases. That's what we're gonna call it. I'm sure that I will give it a flashy title just because that's how the algorithm works. But basically, I just wanted to take some time to go through all the recently released books in October. And I know I'm going to have an October wrap up, but that's more for stats and favorites. So, I mean, you'll hear me talk about these books again because some of them will be in my favorites. But there's a lot of still really great books that probably won't make the very tippy top. And so I just want to talk through them. I thought it'd be a fun idea. So there was 22 books coming out this month that I was excited for. A lot of them I had arcs for. A lot of them I just knew I was going to read the day they came out, whether I had an arc or not. One of them was my very first book that I ever beta read for the book. And so to see it finally come out with some of the some of the changes, some of the advice that I gave just was really special. So I just want to go through all of these, and I'm going to go through them in my least favorite to my most favorite, just because I want to add a little bit of suspense to this. So if you would like to have part of the suspense, don't look down below. Well, maybe I'll mix it up because I'm going to link everything down below so you can go buy these books if you want to after I gush about them. But I'll mix up the order so you can't tell which one will be my favorite. That's what we'll do. I'll take it away so nobody can ruin the excitement. I mean, you could skip to the end of the video, but why? But I'm going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite, but I want to be clear that even my least favorite was a 4-star. Now, I am typically more generous with arcs unless they really piss me off. I feel like they have stepped over the line or I just plain don't enjoy them. But in general, I don't rate lower than a 4-star for arcs. But genuinely, there was something about every one of these that was a good time. So yeah, we're going to go through, like I said, I don't have anything lower than 4 stars. So we're going to go through my 4 stars, the 4.5 stars, and then the 5 stars, but leading towards, well, I think all of the 5 stars make the top 5, but there is one 6-star book as well, which just really blew me off my feet when I read it. So yeah, we're going to go through these. Hopefully this will be fun. Let me know if you like this kind of video because, again, I know my monthly wrap-ups that I don't go over every book I've read. And I'm still not going to go as deep into these as I do on my weekly wrap-ups because those videos take a lot of work and I definitely want you to watch them. So if any of these books I'm about to talk about, I don't talk about them enough for you, you want some more details, sometimes I have spoiler sections that you can look at there too if you want even more, and we're not going to be spoiling stuff in this. This is going to be a safe place for you to decide if you want to read the book or not. I'm just mostly going to tell you my feelings and opinions, but you can check out this playlist up here, which has my weekly wrap-ups, and you can watch the ones for October, and I talk about all of these books in there. So anyway, that's enough jabbing. I hope nobody's jabbering about that. Let's actually get into them. So the 4-star books that I read, we had The Best Laid Plans by Carla Sorensen. This is one that I actually received a advanced listening copy for. Did I with this one? Oh no, I lied. That was for another one that has a cover that looks very similar, so pardon me. But yeah, this one is the first in her series called I think it's called The Best of Men or The Best Man. I'm not sure, but it involves kind of a home renovation scenario where this guy, his best friend and his wife, they've died. They left behind a daughter, and the home that they had bought that they were going to be renovating, and then well, they were going to live in it, but now it needs to be renovated so it can be sold and the money can be left to the daughter. Now he doesn't get left the daughter. There's another one of their friend group that him and his wife are left the daughter, I believe. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be one of the next books. Maybe it'll be a marriage in trouble and then they get her, or maybe it'll be the wife ends up leaving him and now he's a single guardian dad. I have no idea what that's going to be yet. Haven't looked into that. I don't want any spoilers. I don't want to know. But yeah, this one, we have kind of a grumpy sunshine. They end up both staying in the house while it's being renovated because she was staying there because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere and it's just easier to start the day already there. And then he's also staying there because he doesn't plan to be in this town any longer than it takes to get this renovated. And this woman is the one who was asked, she was the one who was hired to to like do that part. And so, yeah, they both end up stuck in this house working on that. And this was just a very sweet, like, forced proximity, you know, grumpy sunshine and like HD TV vibes, right? So I had a fun time with this one. It was pretty low on the Steam scale as well. I think I gave it a 2. But Carlos Sorensen writes very emotional books with a deep connection. And so this one could be a good option for you. Another 4-star release was Madam by Sarah Kate. I'm not putting these ones within the 4 stars, like where they fit in the order. I'm just going through everything I gave 4-star. So there are some that I loved more than others that are in the 4-star, but there's only so much room even in it. But anyway, I gave Madam 4 stars, which is the 6th and last book currently in the Salacious Players Club. I believe there will be like spin-off series that come from that, you know. But this one was about Eden and also then her like ex-submissive / like they were kind of dating but never really turned into that, Clay, and then his current girlfriend, Jade. And through some conveniences and awkward situations, Jade ends up reaching out to Eden to find out more of what she does for the club and showing an interest in possibly gaining some of the skills that she has. And even though Eden's like, this is kind of a conflict of interest. I mean, I know a lot of secrets and things about your boyfriend and you should ask these things to him. And she's like, no, you won't tell me. I need you to tell me. So the reason why this one didn't blow me away, and I was sad that it didn't, is that like Jade is really the one who like pushed everything, but I didn't feel as much of a connection with Jade. I didn't feel as much with her relationship with Clay or with Eden, but yet she's the reason that the 3 of them end up together because of how like she pushes for it to happen. But I just ended up wanting something from her character still. So that was really where my hang up was. I mean, the sex scenes were very good in this. I still think that even though Sarah's Kate is definitely like erotic romance for what it's using the sex scenes for and how it gets used, she also doesn't overplay the sex scenes. And I think that is showing great restraint, especially when the topic of your, you know, the topic of your books is a sex club. It can be very easy to just like throw that in there all the time. And I think really in most of the books in this series, for the story she's telling, she does a good job of holding her hand back a little bit and not just overdoing it. So there were still some emotional scenes in this. I just think we didn't get to see enough time of them coming together. There's no way to say that for me to believe it. All right, I got to make sure that I will cross them off as I go. All right, another 4-star was Grimstone by Sophie Lark. This was her, of course, most recent release. Duh, that's what we're talking about. This is a standalone, and there'll be future books that connect with it, but I don't think she'll name them as a series because they will be, you know, different tropes and different vibes, but they'll all center around Grimstone. And so we get introduced to this new place, and we have our heroine, Remy, proud of myself for remembering that, and her brother, Jude, I think it's Jude, who have been left this manor by their great uncle who's died, and it needs also some HGTV work, and that's something that Remy is good at, and so they don't have a lot of money to get started with this, but they want to get it flipped and be able to resell it and move on. And there is a very sexy / slightly creepy neighbor named Dane who has a disease where he can't go out in the sun, so he feels even a little bit more stalkery because he's only checking things out at night. And him and Remy, like, it seems like maybe they're getting off on the right foot, but then when she agrees in exchange for having an easement to be able to, you know, go up her own driveway, she's going to do a project for him at his house. Things immediately become very sexual between these two, so much so that it kind of scares both of them just a little bit. And there's also someone stalking Remy, and maybe it's Dane, maybe it's someone else, maybe it's a ghost, maybe, I don't know. Well, I do know, but you'll have to see. And then within Grimstone, we, you know, of course, hear a lot of rumors about Dane. He's suspected of killing his wife and child. And so people really give him a wide berth, but also he's a doctor. He always does the night shift, right? Since he can't be out in this sun. And so who else are they going to go to but him when they need him? So it's this grudging, you know, reason of keeping him around. And Dane doesn't give a fuck what the people think about him, and he still stays there and lives in his house with his grief and his self-hatred until Remy comes along and just looks like a tasty little treat that he would like to snap up. He's also a sadist, and only in the sexual sense, but he is a sexual sadist, and things got very kinky in this one. So this was one that I do go into a pretty deep review in said weekly review where I talk about it, into the spoilers of like what wasn't working for me. But it does basically come to, I thought their sexual connection was the only thing connecting them. And though I still had fun with the mystery aspects, I never quite just went along with the bonkersness of this one. And I feel like that's what was supposed to happen. I feel like I was just supposed to take the spooky vibes and the wild sex and just be like, this was fun and bonkers. But also, I know that Sophie can write better connections than this. And even in other bonkers stories she's written, like Minx. Minx was bonkers. But Minx was one of my favorite books that I read this year. It's a 6-star read for me. And that one is an erotic romance. This one is as well. But it led into the more being erotic that they end up together at the end. And then there was also a mystery element poured in. So I still gave this one a 4-star, but this one was a bit like lower on the 4 level for me. But yeah, I'm not always going to love every book by my favorite author. In fact, there are some books of hers I love so much that it's going to be hard to top it. But I know she can. Someday there'll be another new favorite. Okay, now we have some where I actually have the physical copies. So another book that was 4-star for me was Good Game by Madison Fox, and I am so happy to be holding up this book. So Madison Fox is a fellow YouTuber. She used to be more fully focused on just like romance booktube, but now she's more lifestyle, right? Although her authorness is poking into it. And back in the beginning of August, she had asked me if I would beta read Good Game, and I was so honored, but I was also very nervous. I talk about this. Well, I haven't really talked about it as much. So this one I'll talk a little more in depth for. And she told me that it was a gamer romance, and that between a rich girl and a gamer with a secret identity. And it was going to be a trilogy about these 3 gamer boys. And so number one, I was a little nervous because it's a friend and I didn't know how much critique or how much of that would be welcome, and I'd never fully beta read where like I would be giving advice on story or things like that. And I'm the type of person that I would never want to try to change the direction of someone's story, and so I didn't want to pressure with my thoughts, but I feel like I was very helpful, and you know, it was really cool to see some of those bits that I was able to, and it was really like, of course I wasn't telling her what to do, I was just sharing my thoughts, and it was up to her. And apparently that was very helpful, because not only am I in the back of this book, which I was like, wow, I'm in acknowledgments, that's crazy, but also some of the things I noticed, she was noticing too. So then it was like we could brainstorm a little bit where I was like, well, these are the options I see that you could do. And then that was it. I sent it off with her. And when it came out, I, of course, snapped it up on ebook to read it, and I bought myself a copy, hopefully to have it signed by her one day. And here's a cool piece of art in here. But I was able to see some of my suggestions put in the way that it was meant for her to do, right? And a few things removed that I was like, I don't know if that sets things off to the right thing. This is all, of course, still her, but it was very rewarding, and I felt very pleased that I was able to offer something that was useful, because again, that was my biggest thing, is I was like, because I've never fully done this before, I don't just want to offer nonsense, but I also don't want to be like, this is what you need to change, this, and this, because I didn't write the book, she did, and she did a damn good job. So what is this one about? This one is about Stevie Andwell and Alexander Knight. And Alexander goes by the name Blade because he is part of this gaming trio that they've built this empire, but nobody knows who they are. It's been a secret. And Stevie is doing some like side gigs with her friend, and so they work this event where they're like catering and stuff. And she ends up meeting Alex as Blade, and they have this sexy interaction with each other. And then later on, she runs into Alex as herself, and Alex knows that it's her, of course, and she doesn't know that it's him, but he's immediately drawn to her again, and he's like, wow, this wasn't just me, hooking up with this hot girl in a closet. Like, I really like her. And so he has to make the decision if he's going to risk his identity, if he's going to fully let her in, and if there might be some other people who might connect the dots of who they are as well, and if they're willing to risk that. So yeah, I thought it was done so well. Again, this is book 1 in the system. And yeah, so this one was on my 4 stars, but I also haven't fully finished my reread. I only got so far with my reread, and I had other things I had to get into, but I can't wait to go through and like annotate this one. And again, someday to have her sign this for me would be so cool, because it was just so special. So I'm so proud of her, and I can't wait to see what she's gonna write next. It's gonna be amazing. So anyway, that's the one I had the most to talk about, because when I read the book, I didn't want to say I had beta read it yet, just because. And then I never did read like the ARC version. I just was like, well, I'll just wait till it comes out. So yeah, I highly recommend. The link will be down below. Really, honestly, she did such a good job. Again, I do have this at a 4-star, mostly for personal taste, not because she did badly, but this just wasn't completely my vibe. I still think it has a really strong couple. And if you are a gamer, which again, I was not, but even if you're not and you still want to read it, she does have, oh, that's so pretty. She does have a gaming glossary for you, because to make it natural, like when you're within the story, she's not like explaining every little thing to you, right? Because that would get annoying if the rules are having to be explained to you. But also if you're not sure what's going on, she does have a glossary in there, which is very helpful. So anyway, there we go. Moving on. I gushed up out my friend enough, but I just love holding her book in my hands. I'm so proud. Okay. The next book that got a 4-star for me, where did we put it? Oh, here it is, was Hopeless. Now, Hopeless, I also have a very long, in-depth discussion of in my week 42 wrap-up. So again, that playlist is linked up there. So I won't get into everything about this one. I talked for almost 20 minutes about this book and where things felt off about it. Also, why I think the second half of this series as a whole has felt a little off to me. And of course, it comes back to shoving spice into stuff. So I don't want to get into that again in this one. We have a lot of other ones to talk about that I haven't talked about ad nauseum yet. And at the end of the day, this is still an Elsie Silver, and it's still a good book, okay? I'm gonna be rereading this. I'm gonna have a great time when I do. And her series, the series has been so special. I just love it. I love that this is a series that most people have loved, all of them. And I mean, I'm someone too, I enjoyed my way through so many of these books. So yeah, you're definitely gonna wanna read it. And like I said, I already, well, I did annotate this one while I read it, but I'll definitely be checking it out more too when I reread it for some Patreon stuff and everything. But yeah, I still really liked that one too. The other 4 stars, I just read One Chance by Lena Hendricks. This one is a friends to lovers fake dating romance. This one is book 3 in the Sullivan series, and this one is about, see if I can remember, this is Lee and Annette, Lee and Annie. He calls her my Annette, which is beautiful. And they have both had mutual pining for a long time, but there is also some history in the fact that he dated her, it was like her adopted sister. She was like in foster care and then like adopted by this family basically. But then he had dated the sister, and while he was away in, I think he was in the army, he was pen pals with her sister, but when he got back, he was going to break up with her, and I think he had broke up with her, was about to, and then there was an accident and she died. And so, you know, it already would have been hard if they had like broken up and he'd ended up with her sister, but now there's even more of this like thing keeping them apart because she's dead, because it would be like, is it a betrayal to be with her, and just all that. So they're up in their heads about it. And then there is this singles gala that is a part of a fundraiser that happens every year. And first they try to help each other find dates so they don't have to be a part of the auction that happens, but it doesn't work. And so Annie ends up on the auction block and he ends up buying her dates. And Annie is very confused by this, But Lee finally uses this as a chance where he's like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to get her. I'm going to go for her. And so he goes for it. He goes for it. And he makes it very clear that he wants her for sure. So this one was a lot of fun, but it was one where the obstacles were so contrived and it just felt like it took too long for us to get it out there. And also, this is another one where once the sex started, like, he was just the most alpha, spank you around, I'm gonna fuck your ass, I'm gonna do all this stuff. And I was just like, I didn't quite eat it with this one. I didn't. But this series is very spicy and fun, but still, none of them have hit me as hard as the very first one did. Like, the very first one was just extra special, and I just loved it so much. So, still a good one. I would be really interested in the audio for this one. I've listened to the audio for the first two, but then I got an arc of One Chance, so I didn't have the opportunity for an audiobook. But another 4-star read. And then the last 4-star read I have to share is Obsession Falls by Claire Kingsley. This is the first book in her new series, The Haven Brothers. And if you haven't seen the announcements yet, I will be interviewing Claire Kingsley on October 30th, so the last Monday of October. And I'm really looking forward to it because I have loved quite a few of her books in the last couple of years. This is taking a bit of a shift for her. The series is going to be more firmly romantic suspense. Some of her previous books have had elements of suspense depending on the story happening. But this one, there really is kind of a suspense element going the whole time. There also is the POV of a stalker that we get. But yeah, this is Josiah Haven. And then our heroine, her name escapes me at this moment, but basically she ends up being a tenant of his and his family. Like, his dad and him like restore homes and like flip them, and so she ends up renting the house next to the one that he's restoring. And so her and her dog move into it, and she is actually back in town. Like, she used to live near this town, and then she hasn't in a long time, and now she lost her job. And she ends up getting a job at the Tillicum. Are we not in Tillicum? Are we near Tillicum? No, I can't remember. But it's near there because we see the Havens are there. So it must be Tillicum. It isn't Tillicum. And she gets a job at the newspaper there, which is, of course, a very, very small paper. And she's being stalked by someone who's leaving scary notes and dead squirrels for her. So warning for harm to squirrels. Okay, I never thought I'd have to leave that. But there you go. So anyway, tune in next Monday, or else the video will be available afterwards too for my interview with Claire. I can't wait. Okay, now I have 2 books that I gave 4.5 stars to. So one of them was Don't Forget Me Tomorrow by A.L. Jackson. Let's take off this slipcover to show you the underneath. There we are. I did have also an advanced listening copy of this one, so thank you so much to Amy for sending me that and for sending me a book box with this hardcover because it's so beautiful. So this one is another small town romance, like everything else that came out this month as well. And this is a single mom, a very young single mom, and our hero and her are friends, and he looks out for her and her son. And he keeps his distance, though, because he's involved with some bad people. When he was young, he got in with the wrong people, and now he feels too entrenched to be able to leave. But with his whole soul, he wants to be with our heroine. And so he's trying to find a way to get out of the situation that he's in. So that is kind of what's going on with this one. But when a few sketchy things seem to be happening to the heroine, he makes her move in with him, and they're staying with him to be safe. And then, yeah, there's some dark secrets that come out, but I loved these 2 so much, and the audiobook is fantastic. A.L. Jackson has such, like, lyrical writing, and listening to it is really the best way to do it. We also have some page overlays in this one. There's a really pretty one. Oh my gosh. They move around quite a bit. That one's cute. So yeah, young single mom. Her little boy is the most precious thing you've ever seen. Like, seriously, he's so cute. And the hero is so good with him. It's so great. So, yep, a single mom, small town, suspense element in this one. And it's really great. The first one is obviously the one right behind me right there. And that one was the hero of that one is the cousin of the hero of this one. And he's a single dad too. So I have noticed a pattern as well. I was saying this. In her other, like I haven't read a book by her that isn't a single parent. So I think that is definitely something she likes writing a lot. And she's good at it. So there we go. And then the other 4.5 star of the month was The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. So I actually just recently finished this one. And this one actually doesn't come out until the 31st. So I was lucky enough to be sent a copy by Bloom. They actually sent us, which is interesting, they actually sent out like numbered copies here. So that was cool. Came with a few little swag pieces for it. But yeah, I was excited to read this. It is a chunker, by the way. And something that I talked about this one in my most recent wrap up as well, that it did feel too long at times. However, if you're a big fan of Off Campus and Briar U, like I don't think it will feel too long. I liked that it was a slower burn between these two because they are from rival schools. These two schools' hockey teams have merged. Her dad, is an like announcer and someone who's important still. I mean, he's Garrett Graham, and she is trying to make the Olympic team, and he is co-captain with her ex-boyfriend who just recently broke up because he cheated on her, but he's still trying to get her back. So it's a bit of a forbidden romance, but they end up in kind of a like friends with benefits scenario, or like where they both agree to be the release for each other because they're meeting up to work on like her hockey skills to help her get in the Olympics. And he's working on impressing her dad so he can become a coach at a camp that he runs during the summers, which will help him with his chances in professional hockey. So yeah, it was a slow burn between them, but I really liked it. And by the end of this book, I truly felt like these two wanted to be together always. And I don't want to spoil anything because it's still a week from coming out, but I really liked how this one felt like new adult, but it also felt so true to how like 20, 21-year-olds would be that it didn't annoy me. You know, like there is still some more hot-headed behavior you'd see, but it felt genuine, and I just really liked that. I really loved Ryder, and I really liked Gigi, and yeah, it was great. And again, you'll see all the people you love from Briar U and Off Campus. So if you love those, like you're going to love this. But as I said in the other one, I think the audiobook will come out the same day because it is a chunk. It's a chunk. It took a bit to get through. All right, now we're into the 5-star books that I read, which was just great. There was quite a few of them. So there was These Two Wrongs by Jay Wolf. This one I actually read at the very end of September. So it's not technically in any of my October wrap-ups, but if you go to the last September wrap-up, you'll see it there. And this one is the second book in Savage Academy. So this one is a high school one. And the names of this couple, I'm sitting here trying to remember it. I can't remember. I think Reese is the hero of this one. I can't remember. But anyway, this one is one that it starts as a one-night stand. And then when they have bad sex at this one-night stand, like he asks her to teach him to be better at it. Because he's like, I want to be better at this. And so they become kind of like rivals with benefits as well. But the reason too they first got together, so she has a twin sister, and her twin sister actually has she's on the spectrum, and so she has always made decisions to like help protect her sister because her sister has not had an easy time of it with her parents or with, you know, just some things in general. And so she's made a lot of sacrifices for her sister's comfort because she cares so much. Her sister is wonderful. But the reason these two kind of end up hooked up is that Reese's, and again, I'm pretty sure I'm picking the right name. I think it's Reese. His roommate wants to get with her sister, and so he offers to pay him to keep her busy. And he agrees because he does need money for something, which I don't want to spoil, but also he is intrigued by her, so he wants to do it. Of course, that kind of a payment thing, like, it's going to come back to bite us in the butt, like we know, but that leads to a wonderful grovel. Like, J. Wolf, she brings good grovel to the table, and this hero, you know, him being with her may have started out because of that, but he becomes so enamored with this girl. Like, I wanted him to win her back. Also, when you find out his reasons for needing money, it's kind of hard to be upset about it. And they both come from families where they are not loved well. Her parents and brother, obviously, they think her sister is, like, faking a lot of her, like, issues and just want her to just get over it. And so she's had to be very protective of her sister, and again, had to make a lot of sacrifices to look out for her. And our hero, he as well, like, has not been treated well by his new stepdad. Well, he's not new to him. He's been a stepdad for a long time. In fact, he was abused by him. And so he has these ridiculous expectations of him. So yeah, there definitely was trigger warnings for parental abuse to him, and it was hard to see. Okay, then there was Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford. This is book 3 in the Windy City series. This is another one I was annotating well. I read it, and I liked it a lot. This one is another single dad and a nanny romance. This is Kai and Miller. Miller is actually a pastry chef, but she's having a tough time feeling inspired, and so her father, who is the coach of Kai's team, asks her to be Kai's son Max's nanny, because Kai, he keeps firing the nannies. And so the dad, like, convinces him to give her a chance, because he wants to spend more time with his daughter, and this is a good way to do it. And he also thinks that she'd be really good with Max, even though she's never been a nanny before. And of course, Max falls for Miller immediately, and so Kai's kind of like, one fuck up and you're gone. He's very protective of his son, and his son is really a baby, and he didn't even know about him until he was like 5 or 6 months old already. And this team really has, like, come around him to support him. And it's been just really beautiful seeing it. So again, won't spoil anything about this one. I talk about it in length in a weekly wrap up, but it was a 5-star book. I like it more than Mile High, but less than The Right Move. That's where I'm at with it. I personally love the slow burn between them and the deep connections they have, and, like, the parallels between her father and Kai were just, it was so well done. Loved it. Also, Silent Lies by Neva Altaj. This was book 8 in her Perfectly Imperfect Hero series. This one was an arranged marriage, and the heroine is supposed to spy on her new husband. She is willing to do what her Dawn asks her to do because she feels very guilty for some things that her actions caused, even though her actions didn't really cause a certain thing to happen. She feels like they did, and so she's willing to make this sacrifice. The only thing is she immediately falls for her new husband's, like, family that's around him, and it becomes very difficult to spy on him because she just likes him so much. And I loved that about her. And so, yeah, this book is really quick, so again, don't want to spoil any of that. But if you love Neva Altaj, you're going to love this one. It's probably one of my favorites in the series. I'll have to rank them someday, but currently I think it's, like, in my top 3. It's one I would read again for sure. And Neva Altaj is just such a cozy author to me. And this was another one, especially after there was a couple in a row that were a lot heavier than, like, some of the first ones in the series. I mean, they're all mafia, they're all dark, but, you know, some are heavier than others, right? So yeah, definitely that one was a 5-star for me too. All right, the last one that's a 5-star is King of Greed by Anna Fong. So just finished this one recently, and this one actually just came out today, the day I'm filming this. Thank you to Bloom for sending me a copy of it with the pre-order incentive. I mean, it's so pretty. I do have my Barnes & Noble copy coming, but, like, they didn't ship it until Monday, so it's not getting here until Friday, and luckily Bloom sent me a copy, so thank you. So this one is A Marriage in Trouble. And it is Alessandra and Dominic Davenport, and they've been married for 10 years. And Dominic, being the king of greed, they started at the bottom together. They were just two young lovers who didn't have anything but each other. And he's made it to being a billionaire, but he has lost the connection with his wife that they had. And she still loves him. She loves him so much. But that makes it hurt even more. She's like, he's not even cheating on me. He's not even doing anything awful. He just has like practically abandoned me. He doesn't make our Friday date nights anymore. He doesn't remember important events we're supposed to do, including when he misses out on their 10-year anniversary like trip they were going to take. He is so late that he would have missed their flights, and he absolutely like, he fucks up big time because she's like, that's it. And she asks for a divorce. And Dominic really has to reevaluate like how he got to this point and then come up with ways to change it that, oops, when I do that, that falls out, that she will actually believe and that he can prove it. Because she ain't buying his bullshit anymore. Words have led them here. Now actions have to prove what he says. And I just thought it was done so well. Anna Wong had so many like situations in here that were so relatable. And she walks this line of like, you understand why she wants this divorce almost immediately. Like the chapter where he like misses their thing, like you just feel, you barely know them and you feel devastated. Like it's devastating. But yet I never was like, I was just sad that he got to that place, right? So I was never like mad at Dominic. I was just sad. And that's really what Alessandra feels too. So, and I also think she does a beautiful job weaving in flashbacks. That is something I honestly constantly complain about in books. I think authors overuse flashbacks as a way to tell you instead of show you how like characters react. I know it seems counterintuitive, like if you're going to show it, a flashback is a way to show it, but people use it too much, where there'll be like chapters of flashbacks instead of finding ways to show someone's history through how they currently are and then supplementing that with some flashbacks. And I think that she does that really well. So you could read this one as a standalone if you want. The ones in this series do kind of chop up well if you want to, but I mean, you see a lot of the previous two couples because they're really close with Alessandra. And again, I love how it's done because he's not a bad guy. They know he's ruthless in business, but he's well respected. This isn't like the mafia guy that everyone like hates him, but they still respect him. Like his friends, they genuinely like him. And there's even some really cool moments between Alessandra's brother and him because they love each other. And he's still like, I mean, I gotta have my sister's back in this, but like, man, I hope it's not over for you guys, right? Anyway, this was just so beautiful. It's not quite the level of angst as a book like Before I Let Go. You know, these two don't have anything like super tragic during their marriage. It wasn't like a big event that pushes them apart, right? Even though that's a legitimate reason for a couple to just not be able to handle it. This really was just like water beating away at a mountain for a long time. And it finally, you know, caught up to them. But it doesn't mean it has to be over. It can be reshaped into something new. So I talked about this one longer than I meant to. I really liked it, and I love having it in my hands. And I'm very intrigued for the peek at King of Sloth, for like who that couple will be and what's going to happen next. So highly recommend. Okay, and now we've arrived. The book that I gave a 6 stars. So when I read this book yesterday, which I will share in just a moment, some of you probably know because I posted about it on Instagram. I wasn't sure whether it was a 5 or a 6 star. Usually how I rate things, right, is I have a gut instinct when I finish a book, if it's a 6, you know, or a 5. Usually if I have to talk myself into it, it means it's a 5. It can still have been perfect, but like if I'm not like, this is a 6, then it's usually a 5, right? it often leads me sometimes to giving books a 6-star that they're not really, because I was like bawling at the end. I'm like, this is 6, it's 6 stars, and you're like crying. Like, again, that 6 stars, my like emotional, like over the top why I give something that. And then when I do my rereads at the end of the year, maybe I reread it and I'm like, oh, that doesn't hit me as hard now that I'm not like crying over it, you know. Anyway, that's for another day. Point being though, when I finished this one, I knew the reason I couldn't decide if it was a 5 or a 6 was because I needed to like talk this book through with a few people first, because I thought it was so brilliant, but I also was like, am I getting everything? I don't know. And I probably didn't. I already can't wait to reread this one. I'm hoping the paperback goes live soon, because it's not ready yet. But anyway, enough dancing around it. It was Contempt by Sam Mariano. So this is book 3 in the Coastal Elite series, but it is kind of a direct follow-up to Undertow. So if you don't know about this, like, Even If It Hurts is the first book, but even Sam says, like in her author's note, she says you could read Even If It Hurts as a standalone, or you could read Undertow and then Contempt as that. And the reason she says that is like, this is a novella and she has it listed as number 2, because you need to read this before you read Contempt if you're going to read Contempt, because this is about the parents of the couple in Contempt. Because these two getting together is what puts the characters in forced proximity as possible step-siblings someday. But there's already quite a history between them. So again, in this, I'm not going to go into the full details because I'll do that in my weekly wrap-up for this one. But anyway, I had to talk through some things because Sam is planning some things. She says it in her author's notes. She says it in her spoiler group for this series that, like, this series is leading to some books that you will have to read in order. So Sophie's Surrender is getting republished as Surrender. That will be by the end of this year. And then Devotion, I think is what she said, the 5th book will be. And that will be like kind of a part 1 and some that you have to keep reading them. So anyway, again, we're not going to get too deep into that. But when I finished this book, I had to talk it through. And the more that I talked about it, the more that I was sure that it was 6 stars. For a couple reasons. Like, one, so many things that other dark romance authors try to do with new adult, Sam Mariano just does. And hers aren't listed as new adult, by the way. I don't want to say that. But I mean, like, her characters are 18. They're in their senior year of high school. So this could fit into new adult. But it doesn't have new adult themes, you know? And the way that she handles dubcon and non-con, and the way that the attraction builds between her characters, I think other authors could gain some stuff from her. One of the things I particularly loved about this one, and again, I'll go into this more in another video, is that these, like, our heroine isn't automatically wet for the hero the first times he's aggressive with her when they're not emotionally connected. There's some scenes where this hero is being very pushy and he is being very non-consensual towards her and she does not want it. And he's being like, are you getting hot for me? And she's like, no, because I'm saying no. And it isn't a like, no, or even a like consensual non-consent no. Like, she's not interested. No. And she doesn't just get wet. She's like, stop it. You're going to cross a line. Don't do this, right? But then as things progress with their relationship and we have a scene like that again, and our heroine knows him more and has more feelings for him and is invested in him, now when he's starting to push those boundaries and she's saying no, she's saying no because she wants to make sure it's more than just this one-time thing. Like, are you going to fuck me and then, oh, I got you, so now I'm done with you? And now she's more invested and she doesn't just want to be the next thing. So anyway, there's so much more to this than that. I think that she plays the emotions and she plays the relations so well. And like the situation that these guys are in and the type of leverage that the hero has because they're living with their parents and want to keep it a secret as well as want to keep their parents happy. Well, she wants to keep their parents happy. He doesn't give a fuck if they're together or not. And so there's this twisted game. But also, to be very clear, and Sam says this in the author's note at the beginning of her book, so don't skip that, that Landon isn't Dare, and he isn't trying to be Dare. He isn't a psychopath. He's more of a broken boy who does need some help. This is a bit of a, like, the bad boy and the good girl, and there is some healing that happens. It doesn't mean he's a perfect angel by the end, but he is specifically a bad boy because of some stuff that's happened. And that is always clear, you know? So it doesn't feel like a cliche. It doesn't feel like a cop-out to me. It's pretty much stated from the beginning. Like, he's a good kid. He lost his mom too soon. His dad then wasn't paying attention because he was checked out. And so he's went off the rails. And the heroine isn't the only one who cares about him, but she's the only one who can fix it because she's willing to literally put her body and her heart on the line to get him engaged again. And oh, I love that kind of story. I really do, because I love a story where a heroine uses her body to get something her heart wants. But not in a stupid way. In a way where she's like, I know if I do this, I'll get him. Not just in the way of like, oh, if I have sex with him enough, he'll love me. Because it's definitely more than that for these two. But Sam does it in the way that I think is so believable. And again, that factor of like, this is a hot book. This is sexy. Even some of the dubious consent scenes they get your blood pumping. But it's still a very slow burn between the two of them. Because it's clear he's sexually attracted to her the whole time. And she thinks that he is hot. Obviously, she's had a crush on him for a while. But the way that he is right now, she would never let that man into her body willingly. She wouldn't let him touch her willingly the way he is now. So she has to decide if she's willing to risk a bit of that physical part for the chance to then dive in deep and get to the root of that. And I love that type of game. Not everybody will, but I loved it. And I love that this was a slow burn, because for me to believe all those increments, I think you have to take your time. And a big issue I've had with dark romance, not necessarily mafia stuff, because to me that's more of a fantasy situation. It just is. But in like new adult scenarios and high school scenarios, I tend to not believe it because they just get so sexual so quick and we're just all in right away. And I just don't like that. I don't want to see that. There's no character development for me. And these characters are so rich. And also because she is building this series, like where things are so interconnected, of course it will help you more if you start with Even If It Hurts. And even though I don't love Dare, that's where we meet Hannah. And Hannah is also prominent in this one. And she will eventually have her story at the end of the series, Sam said. So it is, of course, worth it to read Even If It Hurts. And in fact, I'm planning to kind of like reread that because I want to pick out a few things from it to see. But anyway, I am definitely going to be chewing over that book for even more time to go. But yeah, Landon isn't Carter. Landon isn't Dare. Landon isn't really anyone she's written before. In fact, to me, besides a few of her like earlier heroes that I've read where she wasn't writing quite the same stuff, he's actually one of the less fucked up versions that she's written, because he really is like, this boy has some specific stuff. Now, it doesn't mean he's perfect. And like even Hayden, like the dad, he's like, you know, we're willing to take what we want. And I know that, but they genuinely love their women too. And they're not psychopaths. They're a bit entitled and throw their money around, but they genuinely are good men underneath. But things are not set in stone for Landon at the beginning of this book, we'll say that. And Parker, I love her. She is definitely my top Mariano characters because she's willing to play the game with her body, but like she is smart and she's protective and she cares about Landon, or none of this works. Because if she didn't care about him, she wouldn't let him get her in these positions, which I love that because she's way too smart and she is consistently smart. But also it's tough to avoid the man when you live with him. So anyway, that's enough. I'll save that for you for later. And I want to keep talking about that series. I'm throwing around doing a dedicated video to the Coastal Elites, but I do need to like revisit the first two, so we'll see. But let me know if you'd be interested in that. I've already made a video about all of Sam Mariano's books. I'll link that if I remember, but I specifically want to do like a deep dive into Coastal Elites because she's doing some cool stuff. So anyway, this ended up being a pretty long video, but those are all the October releases that I've read so far this month. There's still a couple I like hope to get to, but I thought this would be a fun video to do. And those are them like ranked by my rating. And if you want to purchase one of these books, I will have it listed down below. So go ahead and snag it there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.